Welcome to another episode of We Are Human, and I am here with the one and only Maria Gabriela Garcia Tobar.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Awesome.
Well, it's funny, like my friendship with you, I've only met you once before.
Right,
this.
exactly.
Yeah.
You helped out with the artwork for an old song, Jesus Christ, when I was making beats back in the day.
That's like, I still wasn't modeling then. I mean, I always did like modeling, acting, dancing growing up. End of high school, that my friends were in photography and they started taking photos of me, and I realized like, oh, I'm kind of good at this. Okay. I submitted myself for a contest with Wilhelmina, and I was selected as one of the 5 girls to like go to Miami and have a whole weekend of just like photo shoots and just not press necessarily, but like events and dinners and whatnot. And then at the end, they would sign one of the girls. And so that was the moment that I was like, wait a second, like I can actually do this. Like there were 5,000 people who tried out, who went to a casting, and I was one of the 5 selected. Like that's a big deal. So that became like my drive. Like I want to go to New York for this. I want to do New York Fashion Week. That is everything I want to do. All I want to do is be a model. And it's interesting because Instagram is such a weird like yes and no for me. Like I'm always in a conflict with Instagram of how much I hate it.
Right. That's fair.
But for modeling, it was everything I needed. I need to get the followers. I need to do engagement. I would have analytics all the time. And I'm really proud of that. And I did it for 5 years as a whole until I just like started the decline and started disliking modeling.
Right. And so talk about that transition, because I recall you saying you have a lot to say about that.
On Instagram, I needed to be this type of person. I need to look good at all times. I need to only post photos of me modeling. And then I'd look at my Instagram and be like, oh, now I look narcissistic. Now it's just like a whole page of me. Now I gotta change it up. And like, okay, let me put a random picture of the sky because I love sunsets. And then I was like, oh, I got 50 likes on that. And my pictures normally get 200 likes. Like, it was a whole thing, and it really like brought me down a lot to the point where I was just like, I need to get off Instagram. I got the opportunity to go to India. They told me over summer, and I left in August, and it was going to be a 3-month contract in India. And I was like half really excited, half terrified of India in general. And I got there, and it was like a month and a half of just like pushing myself to get out of the house, because the first 2 weeks I stayed in the house. I didn't want to leave. I was terrified of everything. Met people. Mm-hmm. And then the second half was just like adventuring and loving life and loving the place I was in, and just like having a little routine of places to go, places to eat, talking to people. But when it came to the modeling side of it, I don't want to say I was being forced. I was on a contract. Like, I need to do what I need to do.
You knew what you were getting into.
Yeah.
In a sense.
But it was just like, they were telling me, you need to wax your arm hair because it's too hairy. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. No offense, I don't want to. And you can't really do anything throughout the day in case you get a casting. But you might get a casting like 8 o'clock at night, and they tell you 30 minutes before. And you're like, I'm at dinner in Juhu Beach, an hour away. Like, I can't go. I went to Taj Mahal, and we wanted to extend the flight, but I was terrified in case we got a casting. So it was just like, I felt like so much control over my life. So I don't want to be in this this career that just like doesn't let me do what I want.
Right.
But again, now that's changed. Now people want those eccentric people. People want those people who are very much themselves. I felt like I was only showing people how pretty I am. And then it also made me feel like people only saw, I'm pretty. Oh, you're a pretty person. And it's like, you don't know anything else about me. Like, I can be studying quantum physics and you don't know that because I don't show it to you. Right. Like 100% my own fault. But it's like, I don't share it because I feel like you don't care. But at the end of the day, I shouldn't care. I should be able to freely say what I want and show the things that I do genuinely like. And that's kind of the process that I've been in for the last 2 years.
You mentioned that you're very introverted. Despite that, you've also done modeling. Yeah. And I want to know how you kind of balance the two, because you would expect or think that that's something that you have to be very like extroverted. You're always networking, meeting and talking to new people. So what's that like?
I grew up very anxious. Moving to the United States gave me a lot of anxiety, and I would bite my nails. Like till this day, I still bite my nails. My hair, I'd be eating it because I was just such an anxious kid. And also like learning English. I didn't speak English. So when I got into modeling, I kind of pushed that anxiety aside, but moving into the beauty industry, I was deeply unhappy. And I was just like, I got into a relationship that made me really happy, and when we broke up, I was completely depressed, completely realized how my anxiety was affecting the relationship, and I wasn't realizing it, how I'd pick fights and just like be completely sorry about picking the fight. And I was like, I shouldn't be sorry about these things. If I'm genuinely angry about something, I'd be able to talk it out and figure it out, but not just like be angry, cry, and then say I'm sorry and like, oh, let's forget about it, it's all good. A lot of people, so I started writing blogs, and in that I would talk about my anxiety, and a lot of people were kind of like, what, you have anxiety but you're a model? And I was like, it's really hard to understand anxiety. Like a friend of mine was just like, yeah, but we all worry. I'm like, but there's a certain level, there's an extent to the worry. Like I will constantly worry about everything, and it fell into the beauty standards in a way where I just like had a need to be perfect. And that's why like I kind of rebel, like getting my piercing, getting a tattoo, cutting off my hair. It's like small rebellions against like what is meant to be perfect, because I'm like, I can't be perfect ever, no one will ever be. But I'm trying to constantly force myself to like coming to this interview, like me writing down everything was like me trying to have a monologue to memorize to say, because I don't want to say the wrong things.
Right.
But it's like trying to get out of that, like say the right things and just say what you feel. And that has been like the last 2 years, going to therapy, reading books, self-help books, and working on those relationships with people. I do good on like dating apps because like I don't have to talk to someone face to face. I don't have to put up a personality. And that's like slowly learning to get out of that has been coming out of modeling and trying not to be perfect and allowing myself to just be a person. I think a lot of people should do more self-reflection.
Absolutely.
And it's definitely really important. And just like building that relationship with yourself and recognizing parts of you that like maybe aren't bad, but just like they can be better for you personally, and allows you to better interact with other people. Because like I'm constantly afraid of talking to people, like nervous as hell. Like what my therapist had told me was like, more than anything, you just have low self-esteem. And what I wrote in one of my blogs, I was like, me, low self-esteem? What? No, like I don't think I'm hideous or anything, but it's like that's not what it means. It's how you communicate with somebody. Yeah. Like when I tell somebody about myself, am I telling them like things that I want to do in the future as well? Because then somebody's going to connect with you and do something like, hey, I do that too, let's connect. Instead, what I would talk about was just like, this person does that, this is cool. But I'd never be like, I want to do this, like let's connect and do that. And that just goes around with fear in general, just like telling about myself and thinking that I'm being really selfish right now, putting myself down constantly. And trying to grow out of that in the last year or two. And India honestly was like,
that's like a spiritual journey too.
It was the people that I met, the experiences that I had, it was beautiful. And like I wish that we didn't live in a world that was so work focused, so that people can go and do that. Because as much as like people can go and just like discover themselves in a whole different place. Like, and more to just like be put in a situation where you have to like bring your full self out and figure things out on your own. And like that, like moving to LA, that's also one of the memories that just like, wow, like I did that was insane. And I'm really proud of myself, because growing up, again, I was that introvert in my family that was just like really shy and really quiet. I didn't realize also until I went to therapy that my therapist was like, not everybody does these things. Not everybody just goes off and like,
yeah,
bye. And I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. I have a little bit of courage.
a little bit. I would say a lot.
So while I was in India, I was told that an agency in LA wanted to sign me. I was like, awesome. So I got to Miami, spent a month there, went to LA January with like $500. So the agency there, I guess they didn't want me anymore. And they completely were just like, okay, you have a meeting at 2 p.m. today. Okay, cool. I get there and they like didn't know that I had a meeting with them and like didn't know that I had even signed the contract already. So it was really sketchy and I was like, what's going on here? But whatever. I'm in LA. Let's like enjoy it. I started applying to jobs in marketing because my previous job was a marketing assistant, marketing and PR assistant. So I was like, I have this in the bag. I'll get a job in marketing and then figure out what I want to do.
Yeah.
And that slapped me in the face. Like I went, probably in February, I went to or applied to over 60 jobs and maybe went to 2 interviews in marketing and got none. Wow. Like absolutely nothing. My friend who I stayed with her and she works in production. Somebody needed a PA and I was like, cool, let me do it. But I didn't have a car at the time. And so they didn't ask if I had a car and I didn't say anything. So I was like, let's go. And I got there and I was doing errands and things, just like Ubering or walking until she found out that I didn't have a car, the boss essentially. Mm-hmm. And she was like, oh, we can't have you here then. And she basically fired me. It was a 2-day job. She fired me. And I went home that day and I was just like, fuck, like what am I gonna do?
But like you had to have a car? Like
yeah, in LA, like to be a PA you need to have a car to do runs because essentially that's all we do. I saw this post. This guy needed 2 PAs. I was like, hey, I'm available. Cool, come here. And I met this production company called Squadron, and now I've worked for them like 5 times, and I love them. They're like one of the best people that I work for. But through that, now I'm like, I love that I did all that. I was like, I'm crazy. How did I do that? But I did it. And a lot of people ask me, like, how'd you move to LA? And I was like, dude, I don't know. I just did it. Like, I just said I was going and I went. Don't be afraid. Just go. But I'm also the crazy one to be like, just go.
Just do it. Just go for it. It's intimidating.
Yeah.
It's very intimidating.
My end goal is to be a script supervisor. That's a 1-person department usually. Like, there's no more than 1 or 2 people if you have an assistant helping you out. But it comes from being nitty-gritty and loving those details. And not even like, because everybody thinks of it as seeing continuity errors in movies. And it's like, haha, that's funny. But usually that's like, the director was just like, let's keep going. And the script is like, I'm letting you know, but my friends will send me scripts and I love breaking them down. I love going through a script and saying like, okay, we need this, we need to find this, all these props, these type of locations, what's it gonna look like? Then timing the script, all of that. Like, I loved the paperwork when I was in college doing projects. It was like, I'll handle the paperwork, you guys do the creative stuff.
Yeah, the talking and all
that. Yeah. So that's kind of where I found that I loved that. So now I'm trying to do that again. It's weird also just because I felt like, oh my gosh, I love TV production. But like film, like, wait, I'm not that creative to be a DP or a director or any of that. So I felt like, wait, I don't belong here. But just realizing there are so many departments in that industry. And okay, my strong points are in the more nitty-gritty paperwork. Organizing side of it. So like script supervising, that's perfect. So trying to get up there. I really didn't think I would come to Orlando for years. Like probably till I had kids and took them to Disney, because I'm like, I have no reason to come to Orlando again.
Wow.
So I'm really happy that I had this like month to come see my family and see my cousin and revisit Orlando and come here and do this. This worked out perfectly. So thank you.
All the way from LA.
Yeah.
Sweet. That's
so cringy.
Perfect. That's actually perfect.